Hi everybody, welcome to our first Honey Barrett Zoom meeting. Today we're going to be looking at how Xero can benefit your business and basically show you the basics of Xero and hope that it can help you. Today I've got, in the chat room, I've got Joanna and Natalie. So if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat. And they'll be more than happy to help you. The plan for today is to have this a quick presentation to show you the basics, and then at the end, if you have any questions or you need anything demonstrated, please feel free to drop that in chat, and then at the end of the session we'll be able to give you a quick demonstration on various things that you might find important. The whole idea really, I think for most people, when they set out in business, their plan wasn't to become an accountant or a bookkeeper. I think they, when you set out in business, what you actually want to do is set out to make money. And you don't do that by spending your time learning how to do bookkeeping, how to do the data entry side of things. So the ideal world would be for you to spend as little time as possible on the bookkeeping and leaving the accountancy to the accountants at the end of the year, so you can focus on how you make profits within your business. So using software, I don't know if you've seen the Xero adverts at all. But one of the things that you would have seen at the beginning, you got a gentleman trying to put data onto a system that's got a little friendly robot, and they say, "What do you do now?" "I've got more free time," and they go and do some weird stuff with clowns and the beach and some really odd stuff. But that's exactly what the aim of the software is to do. If you can have the data entry done, you've got more time to focus on your business, you've got more time to deal with your clients. And as I say, the bookkeeping, the data entry really should be an end process of all your hard work. So the more you can focus on that and the less you can focus on the bookkeeping, the better. The other, obviously, keeping your information up to date, your financial information up to date in the easiest way possible allows you to look at your profits, your losses on a basis. You can see where there could be room for improvement. You can see, just as a general overhead, how things are going. You can prepare for extra costs. And with your data being easily accessible, what you can do is have an accountant, have an advisor, a financial advisor. You can have the bank all access your information. And for that, it's amazing how quick decisions can be made if the bank can see your data. If your account can see your data and you're concerned and you're tax planning, having an accountant there to see that information is really quite important. And before a financial year end, as you're coming up to your financial year end, if you're making decisions on purchasing capital, having that accurate data ready and raring to go, a call with your accountant who can see the data at the same time as you, and you can have a look at your potential profits, your potential tax liabilities, and have this avenue for looking with time at whether you can purchase more capital equipment, whether there's any business decisions that can be made before the end of the tax year. And I think these are all benefits to be gained on having a cloud-based software. And I think that's quite important nowadays, being quite modern, especially with the pandemic and everything that's happened. Where people are working from home and working remotely, the old desktop systems haven't been or haven't been able to be used really to an efficient level. So a cloud-based system is definitely the way to have gone, and hopefully by using it you can really benefit your business. Just some important key dates that I've gone past. So a couple of key dates in case you're not aware of them, and they do affect you. Making Tax Digital came in for VAT for any business over the threshold April 2019. But from the 1st of April 2022, you'll see that all VAT registered businesses will have to be MTD compliant. Now, what that means is that you have to submit electronic VAT returns to HMRC directly through software. Now, there are bridging softwares out there, so you can still do Excel spreadsheets across, but all manual forms of VAT returns will cease from the 1st of April 2022, no matter what size. If you're VAT registered, you will have to do an electronic VAT return. And so that adds to the key importance of moving to a digital software. The more scary thing upcoming is the Making Tax Digital for income tax. And I really hope this doesn't come in anytime soon, but the proposed date at the moment is 6th of April 2023. The Making Tax Digital for income tax means that on a quarterly basis, sole traders will need to submit quarterly accounts to HMRC to give HMRC a rough guide, and of course themselves, what your personal tax liability may be. It's a bit sketchy at the moment as to how it's all going to work. Apparently the deadlines aren't going to change, so you'll still need to do an annual return. You'll still have the same payment deadlines, but you will need to be submitting quarterly income tax returns or the expenses and profits to HMRC on a quarterly basis. And so if that does come through, which is quite a scary thought, it does mean that there's a lot of sole traders out there that will need to move to a digital software so that they can start submitting these quarterly returns. Okay, so a quick introduction to Xero. So Xero was established in 2006. There was two gentlemen that weren't happy with the current desktop software that they were using, so they decided to create a cloud-based software that made their lives easier. Cloud-based software is literally that, so it's in the cloud, it's not on your it's not, oh sorry, apologies. It's not stuck on your desktop, so you can utilize it anywhere you go, anywhere with an internet signal. You're there, you can use it. And with Xero as well, it's unlimited users, so you have the whole of your team that can connect to it. So if you've got someone doing your invoicing, they're connecting. If someone doing your purchase side of things, they're doing it. If you're doing it all at any stage, obviously cloud-based 24/7, so if you want to work on it at midnight, 2 in the morning, entirely up to you. It's there, it's available. And that's one of the great things, as I say, with this pandemic, and where you are working from home. Now you can work from home any stage, any time, and cloud-based software certainly enables that. I previously mentioned one of the good things about being in the cloud and having a software is that you can have support from your accountant. And this is our bookkeeping team here at Honey Barrett. And when you're using Xero or using a software, if you've got a query, if you're tax planning, you just want to be able to call your accountant, your financial advisors, whoever it may be, and say, have a look at my data, what do you think? And in the olden days, that would have meant, can you send me a backup? Can you send that across to me? I'll reinstall it, I'll have a look at it. And then if I make changes, then I'll send the backup back to you once I've made the changes. This removes all of that. It's a simple phone call to your accountant. Have a look at this. You can look at the data at the same time and go through queries and have a look at things. And I think this is perfect. If you're trying to run a business, you don't want to spend ages saying to your accountant, oh, I'm going to send you this back up, can you have a look at this? Days where, like today, we're having Zoom meetings. The number of Zoom meetings you can have whilst you're looking at the same data and going through things is just amazing. And I really think, as you're running your businesses, again, you just want that time efficiency of running everything smoothly. So how Xero works and how most of these accounting softwares work, and the brilliance of it is it connects straight to your bank. And what that means is that the bank automatically comes into your software without any requirement or additional input from yourself. Once the bank feed's set up, the bank transactions will automatically come into the software, and that allows you to spend, again, less time on the data entry, more time focusing on your business, and then when you're at a convenient point of time, the data is there, ready to be processed. Just having a very quick look at the very first screen that you come into. Excuse me. This is the dashboard, and I think what's good is from straight off, everything is visually in front of you with a great overview as to what you can see. And if I just zoom in here, as you log in, the first thing you can see when you log in is the number of transactions that are still waiting to be reconciled by you in the bank. So the bank feed's already come in, it's already doing its work, it's brought in the transactions, they're now sitting there waiting for your data entry. You've also got over on the other side, most importantly down here, the amount of invoices. If you're using invoices, the amount of invoices that are owed to you. How many are waiting for payment? How many are overdue? So as you log in immediately to the software, you've got this information to hand. There's other things that you can add to the front. So these accounts watch lists. These can be obviously designed by yourself. If you want to keep an eye on your sales without having to drill into anything, without having to look anywhere, it's all there on the front of your account. And these little graphs as well may be useful, but again, you haven't gone anywhere, you've just simply logged in and you've got all this on the face of your account, which is extremely helpful, and from there makes things, you can move around easy into the various sections as required. So moving straight on to, if you were to click on that reconcile button, this is what you would see. This is the bank reconciliation screen. Now, depending on your business, depends on how you would utilize this. There are, for some clients, they won't use the purchase invoice side, they won't use the sales invoice side, it's too much for them, so they will be literally coding straight from the bank feeds. For others, you will use the sales invoices and the purchase invoices, so there'll be more matching going on. For everything that happens, this left-hand side here This is all the bank feed. This is the information coming from, it's identical to your bank statement. It is your bank statement coming in. And for the majority of your time, the entries, all you need to do on this right-hand side is tell the system what to do with that information. And if you have a look, for the majority of people that aren't using invoicing basics, all you would need is a who, a what, and a why. The tax rate, if you're VAT registered, obviously becomes important. It will auto default to the main setting, and you possibly may need to change it. But literally putting a who, what, and a why, you'll get an OK that'll appear over here, and that's it. You click on OK, that's that entry of the bank line dealt with. In the background, it will post it to where it needs to go within the nominal ledgers, and you just carry on. And simply working through those 29 entries that would have been there, and that's your job done. That's all the data entry from the bank reconciled. That's your expenses in, your sales in, and everything like that already recorded. And it can be done quite quickly and smoothly without going into too much detail on this screen. You know, there's ways to speed up that process to make things faster. There's AI working in the background that remembers certain entries, so you don't have to keep repeating the who, the what, the why. If you're using purchase invoices and sales invoices, what you'll see is if you have a sales invoice that matches a sales receipt, you'll automatically get an option to OK that. And so that's what you'll see with this one here. This money has come in. It matches exactly the receipt amount of an invoice that's on your system. And it's saying, do you want me to match it? There's a straight OK there. And that's as simple as it can be, especially if you've got lots of various invoices with the same amounts. It all comes up. And then similarly here, what you'll see is a purchase invoice is sitting on your system. A payment has come through your bank feed, and the matches amount, and it's saying, do you want that matched? It looks it's the same. Is that okay? You simply click on OK, and again, that's that bank line dealt with. That is that transaction dealt with, and your accounts are completing. Nice, easy, fast processes. You'll see a couple of other things a bit later on about setting up bank rules that will speed the process along. The other tabs on here are transfer. So if you have multiple bank accounts, simply using the transfer puts the figures in both bank accounts. The find and match over here is used to, if your receipt or payment covers multiple invoices, you will use a find and match tab, and you will highlight the invoices that match the amount, and again you'll get the green OK and then clear. The discuss tab is a simple tab that you would use to leave a comment within that transaction. So if you do not know what to do with that item, in the discuss tab, you can put in that discuss tab, I do not know how to deal with this, please advise. Get on the phone to your accountant who's got access to your data. They will then be able to log in, see your comment in the discuss tab, which it will default to, and then be able to react to it. It can work internally as well. So if you've got a couple of bookkeepers or you're missing invoices, you can put in the discuss tab, don't have this invoice, please get a copy, and then your team, it will default to the discuss tab and then give you that option. So I think that's quite nice, and it's quite smoothly run. The other tabs at the very top here, the bank statements is literally the bank transactions in order that should match your bank statements. So the bank statement balance at the top here, that should always match your bank statements. And if it doesn't, something's gone wrong and you need to look into it. And one of the ways of doing that is to come into this bank statements tab, and the transactions are all in date order, and you can see at what point that bank statement balance no longer matched your bank statement. The accounts transaction tab will show every transaction, so that includes ones where you have marked a payment on the system, but it hasn't yet cleared your bank, and they will be sitting there, so you can have a look at those and see why the difference is. And that's the difference between this balance in the Xero and the balance on the bank is the transactions you haven't marked as reconciled here, plus any transactions you've marked as paid through your purchase ledger or sales ledger if you're using them, and that are still outstanding, and that tab there will show you which ones they are. So having shown you the bank, and as I said, the bank is the biggest part of Xero, and if that's running smoothly, that's a good percentage of everything you need to have running. As I say, everything's working in the background of that bank statement. So all your payments and receipts are being analysed and being posted into P&Ls. But obviously, the biggest part for you guys is actually invoicing out and raising your invoices, because if you're not doing that, you're not getting anything back in. So Xero, if you're using the sales ledger, allows you to create nice invoices. This invoice is slightly out of date in terms of its design, but the principle's still the same in terms of entering invoice details in, and once you're completed, if you've got a payment service connected to your invoices, a link to your invoices, for example, PayPal, where this is linked below here, there will be a link to PayPal directly that your customer can link into and make an automatic payment. So it speeds up your debt collection days and makes life easier for you. And so from the invoice creation screen, the invoices can be immediately emailed direct to your customers, which in this the paperless society that we're moving to is fantastic. You'll see in a couple of slides' time also that you can set automatic reminders to do debt chasing as well. And that is just another great feature, because again, as business owners, the last thing that you want to be spending your time doing is chasing for money. And if you've got a piece of software in there that's doing that for you as well, then that just adds to your time saving. There's within the sales invoicing side of things, there's an inventory side of things that can or doesn't have to be used, but may help if you have regular stock items, if you have regular same prices, if your staff are on an hourly recharge rate, you can have your staff or your items here, description, and obviously most importantly the sale price. So what you can do is, as you're creating your invoice, type in the stock, the name automatically appears, the rate automatically appears. It can all be edited if the prices change, but for the majority, it will speed up transactions. If your business doesn't really use stock, but has almost like a generic wording to its invoice, then you can also attach it here as well. So you'll see here the word appear here. That can be a very long description about the work you normally carry out, and it can be set there ready to be used as you're creating your invoices. And again, it's just maybe a couple of seconds in time saving. But if you're creating 20, 30 invoices a month, then those 20, 30 seconds all start building up, and it's 20, 30 seconds less time spent in the office creating the invoice as to going out and earning what's on that invoice. And I find that, any time saving is fantastic. And then what I mentioned slightly earlier is the automatic reminders. And if in this day and age, obviously, cash flows are always tight, and debt chasing can actually take up a lot of time and have an additional member of staff perhaps doing a lot of this. So this is an automatic feature within Xero that can be enabled. And what you can do is literally choose the number of days past the overdue date of the invoice. And you can say to the system, within 7 days, please send out this email. And you can see there's an edit. It's a very nicely worded email that can be adjusted as required and more personalized. But you can select the number of days and you can see more there where you could possibly get slightly harsher emails. But it automatically goes out without you having to force it, provided obviously you've got the customer email address sitting on that system. Here you can set a de minimis. So if you don't want anything under £50, £100, whatever being chased, you can do that. And with the individual contacts, you can actually switch this off for particular customers. So if you know it's only going to send a customer into rage, you don't particularly want that, you can take those customers off this list so they won't automatically be sent out. But again, talking about the speed and the side of things, how much easier is it just to have this running, especially with your customers, to save you debt chasing. And it's just one task that you can take away from your responsibility or staff's responsibility and let automate, and while you get on with, again, the important thing of making money. Entering the purchase side of things now, and there are quite a lot of ways that this process can be speeded up. For the majority, again, if you're going through the bank and you're not using the purchasing side of things anyway, obviously you won't need this. But for everyone else that where you've got purchase invoices involved and you want to get purchases sitting on the system, obviously you can go and create new bills. That's easy enough. There's a new bill icon that brings up a little basic data entry, invoice date, etc., where you put the details in and you can submit them all one after another. On all of them, there's an option to add a copy of a PDF. If you've got a PDF on the system, you can add that in. The other options, and as I say, there are plenty, so it depends on how you use things. There is an option now, if you have a PDF in an email, to email it straight into Xero. Now, it's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but what it will do is get that invoice into Xero, and it will sit in this draft tab here, and it will have already pulled some of that information into the software. So it may have the totals of the amounts on there, it may pick up the invoice numbers, but what it's doing is getting your invoice already onto Xero for you to do slightly less of the data entry side of things, where you're just coding it perhaps to the right codes. One of the things we'll see later with Xero is the number of add-ons and the apps that can really, once you start using it, can start really speeding up processes. But one of those apps is HubDoc. Excuse me. This is free to all Xero subscribers. And what this is again, it's very much like that web link that I showed you, you can download all of your PDFs to this software, and it will, for the majority, start coding up, putting all the information onto into the data, and then over time it learns from the instructions given, and over time you can automatically have it go straight into Xero without any interference from yourself once you're confident it works. There's also a facility within HubDoc where you have built, like if you've got power gen, all the British Gas bills, which are constantly repeated. Within HubDoc, what you can do is you can have your logins posted into HubDoc, so those bills are automatically downloaded straight into Xero, straight into your accounts. You don't need to do a thing, it's automatic. Now there are levels, so if you're not confident, you can have it stopping at draft stage. So it comes into the software but sits there waiting for your approval. If you're more confident in the software and after a while, after testing it, you're happy, you can make that go to the final stage and straight in. So there are levels to protect you if you're concerned about what's going in there and the overview of things. But this is a great little extra app. Again, it's all about time saving. It's all about focusing you back to what you're supposed to be doing rather than the bookkeeping, the data entry. And once this is set up, if you were to use it over time and with a bit of initial work on it, I think this will work really well. But as I say, going back to the normal data entry and the purchases, that sort of thing works fairly well by itself. But if you want an additional app, this is one I would certainly recommend, as it's free. With everything nowadays, there's always an app. And this is a screenshot of the app. And again, you'll see it basically mimics what you would see on your normal desktop or whatever cloud package you're using. So it will show you your bank accounts. It will show you how many you still need to match, which you can do through the software. It will show you the sales and purchases side of things, the overdues, and everything can be drilled into to be looked at. So you can click on the 29 to match, you will then be able to match them. You can click on the overdue invoices to see what's outstanding. So again, if you're on the go, you don't want the full display of Xero, you can come in here, you've got the app. You'll see at the top here, there's a little plus button. If you click on that, you'll be able to add invoices, you'll be able to scan receipts. So again, it's got a lot of functions, and being cloud-based, this is obviously updating your data as you go. So if you're on the train going between clients, you've got nothing better to do with your time, maybe get a book, read or something. But you can go on the app here if you're really bored, and you can check how things are going. You can see, if you want to see how things are going, you can just have a nosy in. It's there. It's all cloud-based, so perfect. And those train journeys are no longer wasted. Seeing what everyone else is doing on the train, you can just get on, you can run your business from your train journeys, etc. So again, perfect time-saving options there. Tracking isn't used that often by a lot of my clients, but if your business has various fragments to it, there's again a free feature within Xero that allows you to track categories, or if you had various staff or various projects. And I have used this quite well with clients that run projects. If you want to see how a project is doing, then what you can do is effectively as you're putting an invoice in, add another layer to that invoice, directing it. In this example here, we've got 4 areas that the client does business in, and he wants to see which areas are working, which areas are being profitable. And so as he's putting in his sales invoices, he's adding this extra layer in across the board. And what that eventually shows is, as he's putting in his overhead costs here and directing them across, it's showing him all the departments and how they're making money. Now, this is perfect if you need to use something like this, and you have a project and you do project costing at the end, and you want to know if that job's been profitable without any extra expense, and with a little extra time. This works perfectly, and as I say, it's a nice little extra feature, so I won't spend too much time on it, but just to know it's there is great. And as I say, you can always trial it out if you need to use those things, but if you're doing projects, definitely worth having a look at it. And again, from your management side of things, a great tool to use for the future. VAT returns, as I said at the beginning, making tax return came in for the majority of you that were over the 85,000 threshold. MTD was the 1st of April 2019. So you want to submit returns as quickly as easily as possible. Well, with you doing the bank recs and your sales invoices, purchase invoices, the VAT pretty much does itself. You don't need to do anything else. The dates will be there on the VAT return. The VAT return itself will be summarised. And I would advise, of course, that you look at the transactions by the box to see what makes up these figures. But on the grounds that you've entered everything correctly and everything's smooth, a VAT return is as simple as submit to HMRC. And Xero will hold your HMRC gateway logins. You will click to HMRC, submit to HMRC. That is the VAT return done. No more complex than that. For those of you in the construction industry scheme, obviously the new reverse charge came out, which is effectively you no longer send an invoice with VAT on it to your construction company if you're invoicing a construction company, and instead they apply the reverse charge. That is automatically set up in Xero. They've applied new codes, they're ready to go. So again, from a VAT perspective, everything is smoothly run. There's no data entry. And remember, from April next year, everyone will be submitting this way. So if you are a smaller business below the 85,000 threshold, you're still going to need to start submitting this way anyway. So the days of the spreadsheets that create the figures and then going onto HMRC Gateway and posting them, that's going to be completely gone. You're going to have no options but to use a software or a conversion software. There are some forms of Excel add-ons at the moment that you could possibly use that connect to the HMRC Gateway. But for the majority of time where you're, paper and pen days are almost definitely gone, but if you're still doing that, 1st of April next year, there's not much option. So I would advise to have a look at the softwares out there and find one that's nice for you. But, to come in here, have a look at your VAT return, your VAT figures, go to transaction box, have a look at the data entry behind that and submit, can all be done really, really quickly and save so much time. And again, it's just obviously repeating myself, but the more time you save with the data entry, with the bookkeeping, frees up your time. And that's what we want from the software. That's what you want. You just want something that's easy and smooth to run. So the data entry is done, and hopefully done really quickly, and you've got this free time as per the advert. The next thing that you can start looking at is the overview of the business. How's it doing? Is it doing okay? Now, you can contact your accountant, and that's what we're here for, and to analyse things further. But if you just want a quick overview yourself, this screen here is 2 clicks away from the main screen. And what it shows is the profit and loss of the business as things stand. You've got the running monthly income, the running monthly expenses, so you can get a real nice, easy feel without looking into anything too deep. You've got over here a look at the costs for the year, how they compare to the previous year. You know, you haven't gone too far to look at that information. It's 2 clicks, and then it pops up on your screen. You've got your gross profit percentage. There's quite a few more other things below this. Is obviously just a screenshot of the initial screen. But there's a nice overview and a nice thing to look at, and you can make business decisions with this in mind. You can see if things are going wrong, where potentially it's going wrong. Obviously, if your expenses are a lot higher than your income, you know you've got a problem. But you can have a look at this as a general overview, and then it's backed up by this down here, where you can see where the changes have come. And then once you've had a look at it, then again, your financial advisor, your accountant, turn to them. You know, is there a way that we can solve this? At the bottom of that page that you can't see, it's got your debtor days. So keeping control of how long it's taking you to receive your money from your customers, and obviously the alternative, how long it's taking you to pay your suppliers. That information is all there within that one screen. And again, it's about focusing on your business and the direction it's going at. It's about making the decisions, hopefully with the now more time that you've got available to be able to do that, and all doing it from you know, a couple of screens and a couple of clicks. I think it's very, you know, obviously, again, you're all in business hopefully to make money. So having these and utilising these that are hopefully up to date will really push you in the right direction and really help. There are other little graphs that you can add, and you can add these to the front page, so you don't need to go in there directly. Again, if you're looking at these, they might be quite interesting. If, you know, the debt ratio, for example. All of these, when they're on your front desktop, you can click into the transactions to see what makes them up. And there's 8 of these that you can select and have on your dashboard. One thing I forgot to mention actually early on, what you will have noticed if you've gone into most of these screens, there's a little tiny, on most screens, there's a little tiny 2-minute video roughly of what that screen is and what it does for you. And later I may jump back to you so you can see the other ones, but if you look at most of the screens, you'll see this little tiny 2-minute video which Xero put there to give you a guide on that screen. So if you're not sure what to do or what the screen you clicked into is about, you will probably see this little tiny video, and it's worth having a quick look because it may even show you something that you wasn't aware of. But sorry, I didn't mention that earlier. But it's there, and it's good to know that that's there. Then carrying on with obviously the data entry being done, one of the other things that you can do within Xero is create a budget. Put a budget onto the software and then compare it to actuals. And again, it's all about business performance. Excuse me. And looking at those results and planning for future. And you can run the budget reports, get an idea of where things are heading. There's also a cash flow report, a short-term cash flow report, that from this data that you can create cash flow forecasts and have a quick look at how your cash is, where it's going. And again, this is the comparison screen. So you've got an actual to budget there. You can have a look at the variances. All this information on this side is drillable. So if something looks out of kilter, something doesn't look right, you are able to click onto these and it takes you straight into the back information of the entries and show a breakdown of those transactions. So again, you know, again repeating, but this is perfect. If you're trying to manage your business, if you're saving time in the data entry, in the reconciliations, in the debt chasing, in the purchase invoices entry, this is where, if you do have the free time, you can come and focus and maybe have a look at ways to, you know, improve or help. So there is tools within Xero to help you develop and move forward. Mentioned apps, over 500 different apps. And these are just add-ons that you can utilize. So, you know, not every business is the same. Not every business has, for example, inventory. The inventory software that's free with Xero is perfectly good enough, but if you're a substantial business using much more detailed inventory systems, there are apps out there that add in to make things smoother. Similar with the payment systems, like I mentioned, the PayPal, the Stripes, they're all add-ins that you can bring into your Xero software to help it run, again, more efficiently, more smoothly. You know, the point of sale systems, and there's so many, I could spend days going through them. But if there's something in the original functionality of Xero that is not quite working for you, you can guarantee there's an app, a project management tool, an invoicing tool, a time payroll tool, whatever you can imagine that you may need that's not quite there. I would almost guess you would find it, again, using your accountant perhaps for advice, or whatever it may need. But there'll be most likely an app out there that helps you create what you need to do. Current pricing plans. So these are the current prices. So you've got a £10 starter package. If I just zoom in there, you can see what you get for that. So if you're not using invoicing too much, purchase invoices, sales invoices, then this package has become very popular of late. It used to have a restriction on the number of bank entries. So you used to be only able to reconcile 20 entries a month, and that was it for your £10. Now they've removed that limit, so lots more companies are able to access this cheaper package where they're just doing simple data entry, maybe only one invoice, sales invoice, 2 sales invoices a month to the regular customers, and then most of their expenses can go through straight from the matching that you saw earlier with the who, the what, the why, and saving time on that. Moving up to the main package that a lot of the clients are with, the biggest difference here is there is no restriction on the invoicing side of things and the entering of the bills. Everything is pretty much the same, but your limits are gone. So the limits there, completely gone here, and that's for £24 a month. And then moving up to the main pack, the premium package, sorry. The only difference between those two is that you can have multiple currencies. So you can have multiple banks with multiple currencies, and that is pretty much the only difference for your £6. The only difference is that you have that multiple currency that you can now utilise. You'll also see at the bottom there's all these little extras that you can add on. As I say, apps are quite a large part of Xero in terms of any sort of extras, but Xero always has these automatic ones that you can add on. For example, the payroll, which is a fully functioning payroll system and works really well. I've got that on the next couple of slides to show you. Track projects is similar to tracking, but much more detailed, and will allow you to go in and create a bigger project and look after and analyze a project. So if you're in the construction industry scheme, for example, and you have these massive projects, you can do quotes, you can have expenses recorded into the project, you can then bill out through the project screen. It's quite in depth, and again, you know, if that's something that you're looking into, then speak to your accountant, speak to us, and we can advise you on how all that works. But I won't spend too much time on that today. Submitting a CIS scheme, so again, if you're in the construction industry scheme, then at the moment you're probably still on this HMRC websites verifying contractors, and obviously submitting your returns. You can now do this direct through the software, and it makes things nice and easy. There's a couple of other things in there I won't go through today, but if you see anything here and you want more information on them, then give your client manager or us a call, and we can give you more details on that. So mentioning earlier payroll, I thought I'd spend a couple of minutes on this because the cost £5 a month for the first 5 employees, £1 per employee after that. The setup process is very simple, and if you're going to move to a payroll or move to Xero payroll, obviously the tax year for payroll is ending 5th of April. So if you wanted to move to payroll, now's the time to do it. It's very simple. Within the settings, when you first log in, you'll have literally a step-by-step work through of setting up the payroll. You set up the accounts, so telling Xero where to post it all, the calendars, so i.e. your monthly payroll when they run to and from, the tax information, i.e. your covenant gateway, setting up the Nest connection if you're on Nest or other pension workplace pension schemes, they're all there. And then obviously entering your employees in. Once that's all done, you're pretty much good to go. And if you're putting in salaries, a lot of the information automatically then starts feeding in. So when it comes to doing your payroll, you literally log in, you set up the pay run to go, and you can go through each employee. The standard will automatically be there. You are literally posting anything variant from the normal overtime bonuses, deductions, whatever it may be. It's created, you basically save and work through your employees, and at the end of that process, save and close. That, once it's done, it files it away, it does all the RTI submissions for you, it submits to Nest and other pension companies. For others, it will create a CSV file that you may have to import, so depending on your pension scheme, you'll need to look into that. But it does all the work behind you. If you've put in the staff's email addresses when you're setting up your employees, they will have automatic access to their pay slips, so you don't need to do anything further. They can log in to their payroll account and they'll see their pay slips on there. Obviously completing it, there's obviously the P32 that you can download as well to advise your HMR, the amount due to HMRC. If you've got a nice simple payroll, few employees, little changes, you can run a payroll in minutes. It is that simple. You click on everyone, you go through, make sure there's no changes, upload, job done. It is really, really simple and run within minutes. Obviously, if you have complications and changes, then it's going to take a lot longer. And obviously, I would advise, obviously, if you don't have too much of a payroll knowledge, then you just be a little aware of, if things were to crop up with your payroll, like statutory sick pay and stuff like that. The system will do it for you, but you just need to make sure that you're doing the right data entry, and that's why we have payroll companies do a lot of the payroll still. But if you've got a basic payroll, for £5 a month for 5 employees, this is something that you could potentially look at. And again, it's about saving time, saving money, and I think it's certainly worth looking into as an option. So just quickly, just looking at the time, just a few tips as I've gone through, just to help out and show you again how you can save time. And one of the first things I thought about is this creating the bank rule. So within the bank line, so again, the bank statement being on this side, with the who, the what, the why normally on this side, or matching to invoices, there's an options button here. And then you can create a bank rule. And what that bank rule does is it basically gives Xero some standard instructions, i.e., if the payment contains the word fast pay, always post it to here. And if you set up these rules, and they're easy to use, then you can go through your bank reconciliation really, really quickly. And I've seen someone use about 40 odd rules that went through a couple of months bank statements in like 10, 15, 20 minutes, just checking that, of course, the rules are sensible and do apply. If there is a rule, it will come up here in this match section and say rule to apply, the name of the rule, and then you'll get the OK. You'll also get an option to avoid the rule or not apply, in which case it will come back again to this screen here saying the who, the what, the why. Just a quick example. This is, if you click on that create rule screen, this is what you'll see. I don't want to spend too much time on it, but just as an example, you're literally following the guide here. So if the payee contains or equals whatever it may be, that's putting in the customer supplier name, so we'll repeat from there. And then here is what you tell it to do. So the description, the account, the tax rate will automatically default, and how much of that invoice you want to apply that to, which is normally 100%, I would imagine. You set a reference, you set the banks that you want it to connect to. So if you've got multiple banks, you can have it applying to all bank accounts. You give it a rule, and that's it. That's straightforward. The first one and the first couple that you do may be a little bit tricky, but once you're up and running, these rules will save an awful lot of time, especially if you're not using purchase invoices to its full degree. So you can have, your EDFs here. You can have, NCP parking if it's a regular expense. If if you have a regular customer, a regular supplier, you're not using the invoicing side of things, setting up these rules, it will be quite amazing to you how much time saving you can actually have with this. Again, it's worth giving it a go if you're going through the bank rec side of things. But I thought that'd be helpful. And then the main thing is, before you're actually live, everyone that registered with Xero with their companies will have access to this demo company. Top left hand corner of the company name, click on that, you'll have your company there and you'll have the demo company to select. If not, then you go to, I think, My Xero, and then there's a try the demo company. Within here, this is just your data to play with, to try things out, to see how they work. If you're designing your own sales invoice template with your logos, with your headers and designs, you can come in here and test it all out on data that's not going anywhere or not affecting anything. If you want to see how to reconcile something and you want to test to see how things split, then this is where you come. It's not doing any damage to anything. And again, actually, there's an example of that demonstration from the dashboard there that I forgot to mention earlier. So again, that 2-minute video that shows you what the dashboard is. But come in here, have a try for things, how the bank fees. They have obviously these pre-entered information, so you can have a look at how to reconcile. You can have a look at how things work. And as I say, I think it's a great place if you're unsure of something. Again, by all means, that's what your accountants are there for. Etc. But this is another place to go. You'll see up in this top corner here, there's a little question mark. That is for queries. So if you're really stuck on something, that'll take you to a place called Xero Central, where you can ask questions. There's also, if you click on that and you've got an accountant attached to your Xero, there's an Ask Advisor, which will send an email to whoever your account manager or whoever your Xero advisor is. It will tell you their name. But anyone that's been marked as an advisor will get your email and then be able to assist you in any queries. Obviously, picking up the phone is just as easy. But if you're in the middle of something or you're on the train again, you can't make a call, you can do that question mark and drop a query in, and then your advisor will get that and be able to help. So that's it for the main slide presentation. I hope it's been of some use to you to give you a guide on what Xero can do, how it can help you, how it can save time, save money. If there's some questions, I'll just go across to the chat room, which I haven't seen yet. And have a look. I'm more than happy if you drop into the chat room and want to see a demonstration of any particular part of Xero. I'm sticking around so we can have a look and run a demo within the Xero demo company and show you a few things. But from the slide presentation side of things, that's all. So thanks for listening to that. And again, I do hope that was helpful, because it's nice to see how, especially in this day and age, how software can actually help you and progress things going forward. I will now move to the chat room and see where we are. So I actually have a question on the pricing. I'm seeing multiple companies. Do you have to pay extra for each additional company? Does the basic package enable multiple users too? So multiple users, each Xero package has unlimited users. You can have 99 users, 100 plus users per Xero subscription. It is not advisable to have multiple companies on the one Xero subscription. Each company will need its own Xero subscription. And what I didn't mention earlier, obviously I showed you the 3 main packages, but if you're not using sales or purchase invoices at all, your accountant has access to 2 more packages called cash book packages, and they are literally the Xero package but without the ability to do purchase invoices and sales invoices. For non-VAT businesses, that package is £5 a month, and for VAT businesses, it's £9 a month. But you can only get those through your accountant. You can't go to Xero directly and purchase those. So hopefully that's helped that one. Let's have a look if there's anything else. So yeah, there was a question on the duplicate entries. So yes, if you've got duplicate entries, they can just be deleted. There's a little delete key. If it's a bank duplicated line, which happens every now and again, you can just hit the delete key. There's a little X and a delete. If it's a purchase invoice, you can delete those straight off. There's just a reverse or a delete option. Where do you code the dividends withdrawn? There will be codes. Again, everyone's chart of account could be slightly different if you change it around. But there will be a dividends code within the limited company's original setup from Xero that you can use. If not, you can set it up in the chart of accounts. The chart of accounts is fairly flexible in terms of additions, etc. I'm just going to see if my Xero's still going. Yeah. So what I'll do quickly, if I can, is share my screen again with my Xero. I'll just share my screen for the moment. So within the whole chart of accounts that you'll see here, you have the full list of codes. Now, with the way AI works nowadays, everywhere you go and everything you're going to do, as you start typing in things, it reduces the number of transactions. Actually, dividends has come up with nothing, which is not that useful. Usually in the chart of accounts, as you're starting to type, codes will come up. Dividends would be somewhere down here. If they're not set up, it's a very simple process to add a new code. And it's literally add an account there, type in what sort of account it is, give it a number, a code. In the olden days, making me sound old, the code used to be very, very important. It's the structure of the accounts. So everything used to have an order, for example, 200 sales, 300 purchase, cost of sales, 400 overheads. It's not as important nowadays to have this running. I always advise that you should, but I'm an accountant and I like things in nice equal measures. But if you wanted a code with letters, with numbers, it really doesn't matter what you have here. It can be your own system to speed things up. So if you wanted, for example, dividends to be, then you can use that. The code here is just part of the system that's always been, but AI now works on the letters and the wording. So that's less important. And then if you want to give it a narrative, if you want to give it a bit more of a description, the VAT treatment, if you wanted to see it on the dashboard, like we saw earlier watching the codes, and then it's the case of save. And I didn't give it a name, so that's it. So that will now be in your chart of accounts, appearing wherever it's been put. And you'll be able to find that now as it comes up. So hopefully that's helped. If I jump back to the questions. Is there any other questions? Is there anything you? Where to go?
Daniel?
Yeah.
There was a question about how do invoices versus standing orders? Can you show them how to allocate on the bank record a standing order to an invoice when they're a monthly direct debit?
So if you're putting, if it's a standing order, then it depends on, are we talking heat and light bills, something like that, where you get a monthly standing order and then an invoice come in later on. So let me just have a, then what you'll have is you're putting on your invoices. Now, if you're running the invoices through, you would go to business, bills to pay, create the invoice within there. When the payment, sorry if I'm clicking too fast, when the payment comes into your system here, the amount may not match your invoice. And so what you would do, if I just take any of these as an example, you would go to find and match. And find and match will bring up all the invoices that are still outstanding that are part allocated. And you would come in here, you would tick the invoice that it connects to. The invoice will then say split. You would click on there, you allocate your 1550 to it, and that's it, done. And that's in allocating the standing order payments to the invoice. Now, if you've already got standing order payments on there, so just get that out of the way. So if these have been going on and you haven't had an invoice to start with, then in the find and match, you add them as an overpayment. Again, we can go into more detail on this with the accountant, but instead of being a direct payment, it becomes an overpayment. And then that will go sitting on their accounts payable. When you then raise an invoice, it will tell you that there's a credit on the system. Do you want to allocate? And then you simply say yes. So if I say that £11.90 is an overpayment to the bakery there, and reconcile that, when I come into doing my invoice, I can then, once I've raised the invoice, whatever it might be, once I click approve, what you should see, hopefully, all going well, I have an £11.90. Do I want to allocate that £11.90 against this invoice that's just come on the system? Yes, I do. Come in here and allocate the £11.90. So that's it from both ends. So if you're making the payments before you get the invoice, that's how you would go about it. And if the other way, if you've got the invoice already sitting on the system and then the payments come in, you allocate it that way. Does that answer the question? I don't know. Does that help?
Does that help, Dina? I think that might answer the question.
Okay.
Daniel, while you're there, could you just show them how to delete the duplicate entries on the bank in two ways, on the reconciliation screen and on the bank statement?
Yeah, sure. So if you've got a duplicated entry within your bank lines, I say this has Barclays had an issue with it a while ago, but I think it's now resolved. But if it's a simple case, or if you've got two lines of the same data and you're sure they're duplicates, There's an options tab here, which is the one you use to create the bank rule, but you've got delete statement line. And it's simple as, do you want to do this? It says, you know, do you want that? Are you sure you want to do this? Then it's yes. Bank line gone. But obviously making sure that you're 100% happy that that is a duplicate. Again, remembering that this statement balance here should always agree to your bank statement. And if that's out, obviously if you're initially converting, of course, you've got to bring in the balances to start with. But once you're up and running, this should always agree. And if it's not, there could be an issue. Deleting other entries, so if it's a purchase invoice that you've duplicated, then coming in here, these are all your invoices that are outstanding, and it's a simple case of going into an invoice if it's the invoice that's been duplicated, bill options and void. So that's the two ways of removing duplications. It'll be similar if it's sales, exactly the same. And then going on to a sales invoice. And then on my station file. There we go. And then void. So what I did there actually was there's two ways of creating the invoicing. There's a new invoicing system and there's an old invoicing system, and I just switched between the two to get these options up. So if you can't see these tools, you just switch between the two and then they come up. So that's that. If you want to make changes to entries that you've already posted, then within the reconcile screen, so again, this is your bank statement side and this is what you're doing with it. But over here, there's the account transactions tab, which is what I mentioned, showed ones that haven't been reconciled. And you can't quite, you might be able to see it, but I've got all pictures here of you guys, so I can't see, but there's like these reconciled tabs and there's unreconciled. But if something has gone wrong in a transaction and it's just a single transaction, you want to change it, you can come in here, option, and you get an option to remove and redo, and that takes it back to the bank statement. You can also unreconcile it, mark it as unreconciled, which does pretty much the same thing. If it's a payment that you posted, then you can actually go in there. Oh God, excuse me. Apologies for that. If you go in there, you can actually just change the expense code if you put it on as a straight payment. So these are all against invoices, but if you post something direct on as an expense, then you can go in there and change it. One other thing, I'll just try and move us down a bit. You'll see up here in the top corner here, search functions. And you'll see also you've got the plus key there, which again is another speedy way to create your bills, etc. But here is a search function. So if you know there's a certain something on the system that you want to look at, an amount. Oh, I can't use it because it's on demo mode, so apologies. But within here, you can search for an amount. You can search for a supplier. You can basically drill in and help you find things a lot quicker if you're searching for something in particular that you know you need to change. Obviously, in the demonstration, there's a lot more to Xero than what the demonstration was, but you've got obviously your contacts, editing your contacts, adding your suppliers and your customers, going through the list of customers and making changes, setting up the defaults so that they go to certain places. So there is obviously a lot more to Xero than just the demo, but obviously today the main aim was to show you the basics of Xero and to give you an idea of how it can really help. Yeah, if I show you. So when you click on new invoices, that's as difficult as it is to start creating your invoices. The dates, etc., going through. And again, this is where I was saying, if you want to speed the process up, you put in your codes, it's already created the rest of the tabs along. So it's already there. You click on approve, that's it. It's up on the sales day book, it's already loaded. That's fine. Once you have clicked approve, or actually save for that matter, and that's where you get the option to email it out. Or obviously print as PDF if you still want to do that. By emailing it out, click on email. If the customer's email address is already in the system, it will be there. And then that is a standard email out. Send, and it goes, and it will go with the payment link if you've connected it to PayPal, etc. So I'll just come out of that.
Daniel, there's a question.
Yep.
If there is a payment made from a private bank account, but I've got the receipt, how do I code the transfer from the company to my account? And do I need to add the PDF file for receipt?
So
the private that pay privately, but it needs to go through the company.
Yes. So there are several options here. And it will come down to, I think, a personal choice depending on how you're utilising the system. What I mean by that is you can set yourself up as the supplier. So bills to pay, add a new bill, me, I want to pay myself immediately, expenses, my expense, forgive my spelling and my quick typing. Same as everything, so putting in a narrative. And at this point here, again, it's optional. Now, bearing in mind that we're trying to move to a paperless society that we all want, and we don't want loads of receipts sitting everywhere. If you've scanned a copy of that receipt, or indeed taken a photograph and uploaded it via app, at this stage here, you can bring it in, upload a file, find the file, stick it there. At that point there, the receipt that you've got in your hand can go in the bin by HMRC's ruling that they don't need to see it. It's a legitimate copy, it's counted as a valid receipt, you no longer need the paper copy, it can go in the bin. And that's setting you up as a supplier, and then obviously if you reimburse yourself that amount, then obviously you can pay yourself off. So you would click approve on that. And then obviously if you bank transfer the money to yourself, you can do that. The other option is again to run this same process here, but when you get to this stage and you've approved it, if you are not likely to really reimburse yourself, you don't want it sitting here. So what you can do is there's a little box down here that appears once you've approved it. And what you can do is you can have it paid from, and there'll be somewhere down here, owners A funds introduced. Add the payment, that clears the expense off the ledger, that puts it to an account of money owing to you as an individual, as an owner. You can have other codes set up linked to this if you want, rather than just these. But yeah, you can use that, then add a payment, and then that's done. Put a date in, fine. But then that's that payment, that expense, that's in your account, now going to staff training. Everything's gone through, and the money is now shown as owed to you if you're not going to pay yourself. If you are planning to pay yourself, obviously don't do that. Leave it outstanding, and then when you paid yourself, then you can allocate it in the bank statement lines. So that's one option of many. The other option that some clients use is they set themselves up as a petty cash account code. So you can set up a bank account, petty cash, myself, and then they build up and do what's called a spend money transaction. So setting up a bank account, actually quite important, one of the first things you'll do. So when you come into Xero, you add a bank. And obviously it's got popular banks. I'm obviously not setting up one. Be it cash, be it personal expenses. You have to, strangely and bizarrely, give it a sort code and an account number, regardless. But once that's done and that's set up, then what you can do, if you're downloading picture app receipts from your phone or whatever, you can select this account, or come in here and do a spend money transaction. And again, it's similar to the screen that you saw earlier, except that this isn't going on a purchase ledger. This is going straight into that account. So so that's a £50 going straight to the travel expense, the VAT being claimed back. Again, up here you can download the copy of the receipt, or if you've used the app and you're downloading it, and you just select the petty cash account, save and done. And what that will now show on the dashboard is effectively this negative balance. And that negative balance is effectively what's owed to you. Now, if you're actually using petty cash as well, then obviously with a petty cash account, you can now transfer money between the accounts. So if you did take out cash from the ATM, whatever, that's quite a lot of money taken out, but we'll do that anyway. You click on transfer, you can select the bank accounts that it transfers to, click OK. That's that line of the bank again reconciled. And then back to your dashboard. And now you'll see that you've got a really nice health cash balance. So yeah, that's the ways I would do it. I hope that's helped. There is obviously other options. So it depends on how in depth you get, and if you've got staff, there's a whole expenses module which I don't really want to go through, but you can give us a call and we can chat about it. But there's a new claim, so you can have your staff put their expenses through an expense claim. That effectively adds to what would be normally the purchase ledger, and then you can pay that off. The thing with that is it costs money. The app's £5, I think it was, and then it's per additional employees. And to my mind, in a money and time-saving fashion, there are free ways to go around without necessarily needing to use that. But I appreciate if you've got 40-odd staff with lots of expenses, then maybe that is the quicker way. But the way I've showed you is the way I would go about it if it's just yourself as a director, or maybe a couple of staff mainly going through, running through. So I hope that helps. If there's any other questions on that?
There is another one, Daniel. Has
Okay.
Xero good capability of tracking revenue and costs against a job, allowing you to look at the profitability of a certain job, or in this particular case, a website, from our portfolio of websites from? So basically, job tracking, if we can go through that
Right.
a little bit.
Okay. So yeah. So I sort of covered it slightly earlier in terms of the job tracking. So it's a very nice feature if you're doing project costing or tracking. Now, again, as with everything, there are apps, project costing, where you can literally go in, and it's an extra cost, and run projects. You'll see it up there in the demo company projects. It won't work if I click on it because it's a demo company. But within within Xero, as completely free, you can have tracking. And if I just click on that, this one was set up by the demo company already to give you an example. But if you're tracking projects, and forgive my spelling, and you want these to be project 1, project 2, project 3, or addresses, or whatever you want, whatever you're doing, then you can rename those. I won't spend too long doing that. Now, what happens once that's done is on the dashboard or wherever you're doing your data entry, what you'll see now, there we go. On the entry, on every entry, you'll have a little tab here, projects. And from that project, you can select where you want it to go. So I want that to go to project 1. Again, just very quickly filling that in. So this is fast pay. I'm going to say that's bank charges, bank fees. So again, as I say, with AI, you used to have to know nominal codes. You had to really understand your chart of accounts. Now you don't. If you type in what you think it would be under, as you start typing, it will reduce the selection down to the point. You'll see I've only put in those 2 entries. I've already got an OK. At this point, I could go, that's it, I'm happy. But again, you've now got this extra layer if you want it to add the projects. You've got the option to change your VAT code. And more importantly, as well, just adding a narrative here sometimes can be helpful. And I guess I'm being a bit greedy because I think that's more helpful to us as accountants when we come to look at your accounts. If there's a narrative in there, it's less likely that we're going to ask you for a copy of that invoice to confirm what it is. If it's left blank and we have no idea what it could be, then you might, when we're doing the accounts preparation, go, can I have a copy of that invoice? Can you tell me what that is? I didn't really mention it much in the slide presentation, but of course the end product of all of this, from your accountant's perspective, is obviously preparing fast and easy accounts. And obviously, gone are the days where you would say, my accounts are ready. Here's about 5 boxes of my purchase and my sales invoices. Here's all my bank statements. Off you go. The whole use of cloud software has made life so much simpler. So if you're using this well in your systems well, most accountants now will probably turn around to you and say, can I have a bank statement at the year-end date to confirm that the balance in Xero is correct? Can I have a copy of any HP agreements, anything that's slightly unusual? Let us do the accounts and we'll come back to you if we need anything else. Now, if your narratives are all there, then the chances are you're not going to get much. In addition, of course, if you're putting PDFs of your purchase invoices already on your system, then there's even less chance that we're going to need extra information. But I sort of sidetracked off the tracking categories, so apologies for that. But once that's all selected anyway, if you click on OK, that's gone into your accounts, that's gone into your tracking cost. And if I just whack a couple more into the system just to make sure there's a couple of figures in there. So I've just put a few entries in there. Then when it comes to running a profit and loss, so accounting, I mean, obviously I didn't cover them, but whilst you're all there, reports, I don't want to blow, there's no need to blow people's minds on this, but there are so many reports. If you're in depth and you want to know more, there are so many reports that you can drag out of Xero to be useful. And if you like a particular report, you just click on the blue marker, and what that does is that adds it to the toolbar. So instead of you going into reports, you just add it to the toolbar, and then it will be there the next time you click on that toolbar. But what you're looking at is the profit and loss. Sorry. And then here, what you've got is compare projects. So that's your projects coming up. You've done the data entry side of things. So this is showing how much each project is making. You don't, of course, have to split every cost. You can leave it unassigned. But as I was saying earlier, because of the software, if you think something's not right, then there's nothing to stop you drilling into these transactions, having a look at what's made that figure up. If it's not right, again, you can go a step further, click in there, and then change it. So that's not advertising, it's something else, a direct cost, maybe direct expense. So from one screen, you can see you can go for various things, change things. And I guess that's where all the time, if you've done all the data entry and then you're starting to look at something like project costs, the project and the costing, this is where you can spend more time, although obviously your time's best spent making the money the way you know how. Does that sort of answer the questions on the project costing? Obviously, I didn't show you, but it's just as simple. When you're entering a sales invoice or a purchase invoice, what you'll see when you create a new one is you've now got a project tab. So as you're putting your income or expense in, that's where you're assigning it. So doing it from the bank, if you're doing the who, the what, the why, if you're doing the purchase invoices, you have a projects tab. As I say, you can always leave it as none if it's nothing, but assigning it there. That's the sales side. The purchase side exactly mirrors that. So hopefully that's answered the question. Anything else, Nat?
Are those projects, can those projects be conditional upon the selection of a nominal account, or does it create a global tracking across the nominal ledger?
Go back a bit.
Can those projects be conditional upon the selection of a nominal account, or does it create a global tracking across the nominal ledger?
Selection of a nominal account, no. So what you're saying is if I always put 200 in there, will it automatically default to projects? And the answer, I think, is no. I think that it will, every time you will have to assign it. I can look into that just to double make sure, but I don't think so. And in terms of tracking, I think when you have a look at that profit and loss again, that's where you can do the sort of tracking. If you're looking at normal activities, I don't want to go into it too in depth, but there'll be an option when you're looking at account transactions. I believe you can have a selection in here in the report settings to only select the project that you want. So that is a standard bring me up everything. This is bring me up just stuff that I've allocated to project one. And I suppose to a certain degree, going back on that other question, if you just wanted to look at the sales of it, then you could do that. But this is bring up everything that's been coded to project one and what codes they are. Obviously, you might not want to see all the codes, but again, within Xero, there are plenty of little tiny tweaks that once you get to know, you know, you can select the accounts that you want. Obviously, I selected them all. So I'm having a little bit of a slow internet at the second. So I hope that's not.
And a little bit of clarification is, if you only want to analyse a project cost across professional fees, for example, could you just make it a condition of professional fees that is assigned to a tracking cost?
No, I mean once tracking's set up, it's a default. You don't have to use it. You don't have to fill that section in. If I've understood the question correctly. So just because you set up tracking doesn't mean you need to fill it in. So if you then just want to look at your legal costs and track your legal costs via tracking categories, then just when you're entering the legal costs, then use the tracking section. Everything else you can leave as none or blank, and it will just go into unmatched. Is that what? Did I understand that correctly? So I think I'm having a bit of the internet is starting to drag a little bit on here, so hopefully there shouldn't be too much timing delays on anything.
Yes, Daniel, you did understand that correctly. That's what I meant.
Excellent. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. If you just want the legal fees, then obviously when it comes to posting those legal costs, you can set up the tracking categories however you want. Obviously, in the demonstration, I've showed that you can have one tracking category. If you're really being in depth, you can have two. But that just adds to the amount of data entry that you may or may not do. You can only have two. So if you wanted oh, that's terrible. So if you wanted various sort of sections of legal, and that's not my expertise, but so just domestic company. That's me done from my knowledge of legal stuff. So there you've got a second one now. That's the most you can have. Within here you can have, I think, up to well over 99, over 100 different entries, but you can only have two of these. And what you'll see again is when you come to your entries, again, I think things are slowing down a little bit, but hopefully still going. You'll now see on that screen, you'll now see I've now got the projects and the legal split. Now, if it's totally irrelevant, you don't need to fill in either. So if I come in here and say that that's a, well, let's put that in. And let's put it to travel, but I want to record it as a legal split. I can come in here and now set that up as a domestic. And then you'll see it's already okay. So once I click on OK, if my computer wasn't slowing down a little, and I could actually click on the OK, that's it done. I haven't analysed out that other section at all. That will go into uncategorized. I've just allocated it to the legal ones. And so again, now when I go to the profit and loss, I will have the option of selecting projects. I will have the object be able to select legal. So you can only have two. You can have unlimited, limited within those two, and then you can run. So yes, hopefully that's helped. Excellent. Anything else, Nat?
As a complete novice to Xero, what is the best way, suggestion to learn the software?
What is the best way to, sorry?
Best way or suggestion to learn the software?
To learn the software. Okay, so obviously I would always advise as an accountant that you speak to your accountant to get a quick overview. We obviously use it day in, day out, and hopefully if you're a client, we know your business, so a training session on it, probably for the maximum, even if you're using it to a large capacity, probably is an hour, 2 hours. And it's well worth doing if you're a complete novice, because you know everything you do, it's cloud-based, it's live data, so you don't want to really mess up your data. But as I said, sort of in the original chat, you know, when I said this demo company here, I can do anything I like to it. You've got these 2-minute videos, always worth having a quick look. I've got a feeling if I click on that, it's going to slow my computer down to a crawl, so I'm not going to do it. But within there's like a 2-minute video just telling you what the screen is and how to do things. But come in here, you know, if you're set on Xero, there's a 30-day free trial. You don't have to touch your data at all during that period if you don't want to. You can come in here and you can test it out. So you can try the invoicing matching, you can try the coding, you can have a look at how things work. The find and match will be the biggest thing for if you're clearing multiple invoices, just working on a few features. But if I'm honest, I still, you know, with all this, and back in the question mark up here, it's a demo company, so it might not work here. You've got the Go to Xero Central, and Xero is absolutely full of help and advice on every stage of the way. But yeah, if you are a complete novice, definitely worth a call with your client manager, you know, or one of the Xero team within the accounts practice, because I think an hour, what we've done today is obviously a very good step in the right direction, but when it comes to your data and using your data, you remember it more. So the creating of invoices, if you're actually creating your own real invoice, you're going to remember that more than me just going, oh, I'll click there and click there and click there. And similarly with payments, if you know those payments, you're going to remember the steps a bit more than if you're just going through some fake demonstration. But do use the demo company, because as I say, it's got a wealth of stuff in there. As I say, if you click through various screens, and hopefully I haven't removed most of them, but there's not one on there, but there's normally a video at the top of each screen to give you a guide. But as a complete novice, use the demo company, use your accountant. I say get a probably not even, you know, an hour, maybe 2 hours max session in there. If you have been using other software for a while, there's free conversion software. So a company called Move My Books, it's free, and you can bring in 2 years worth of data from Sage and QuickBooks into Xero. So that brings in all your nominal codes as well. So if you're worried about changing nominal codes, if you're moving from another software to this software, then you can bring in 2 years worth of data with all the nominal codes, with the structure, and that works pretty well. If you're obviously completely fresh, coming in, a new company, not used software before, then it may take a little bit of tailoring. And again, just keep probably repeating myself a little bit, but always worth having an accountant there to advise. Having said that, this is supposed to be very friendly software that you can easily use. So the first time you log in, you see this screen. You kind of get a feel for where you've got to go to do what. You know, you've got to set up your bank fees to start with a course. But I've shown you that slightly there. So you just go into a bank, and if you select any of the proper banks, as soon as you select the bank and you put your name in there, it will, I don't know how far it will let me go here, but it should automatically say, oh sorry, again, it's just starting to start here, but there. When you click on that continue, it will automatically say that our bank feed's available, do you want to connect to the bank? And that process is pretty straightforward. It pings you across to your bank in most cases. Ping you across to your bank in most cases, where you do your electronic confirmation, your normal electronic logins, you will select your account. It hasn't done in this case because it's the demo company. But once it's up, once you've done that, it pings you back into Xero, and that's it done really. So I hope that sort of helped with that question. But yes, I think that's pretty much it. I would get an accountant involved just because I am an accountant, and I think there's a little danger if you don't know what you're doing to potentially enter things incorrectly for quite a period of time, and then the amount of time to repair that can be quite costly. So making sure you're using it right from the start with maybe an hour's training is probably better than trying to go it by yourself. But there is all these helps. I'm going to be brave, and I'm going to click on Go to Xero Central. So if the whole world crashes, I do apologise. But here you are within the main Xero Central, and you can sort of what you want to do at the top. Can we help you? And there's various things you can put in there if you want to know how to Xero quote. One of the things when you do log into Xero for the first time, there's almost like a step-by-step guide. Now you won't see it because obviously I've been using it for a while and don't get that initial screen, but you'll have like a welcome screen and you know a step-by-step guide on setup. So have a look at that as well. Hopefully that's helped. Anything else? Got about 5 minutes, or if there's any more questions, I'm more than happy to stick around. While I'm waiting for just any questions, if you are considering something like the use of the payroll, as I was saying, the process of processing a payroll is so quick. If you're not making changes and it's a straightforward process, select the payroll process run date, which one you're going to do. That's if the employment allowance there, which hasn't been set. I don't want to go into all that. If I just click in the one that's there, that's the process now. He's been, if there's any alterations, you go in, change the hours, put in the overtime, various options that you would have set up at the beginning. But if you're happy with it straight from the off, then it's just post, and that's it. That's as difficult as it is. That's just the RTI being late because I put a date in that's already passed. That's it. Successfully processed payroll. That's it done. The RTIs are submitted now. They've gone through. everything's processed. You have the options here to print payslips if you want, to download the P32 to confirm your tax liabilities. Anything else for the last couple of minutes, or are you all happy? Well, happy, I'm not sure that's quite. Try and go back to the chat room just in case there's anything in there. Okay, excellent. I'll wait around for a couple of minutes, but otherwise, I hope this couple of hours today has been helpful. So it's the first time we've tried something like this, with an aim to hopefully assist you in decisions, especially with the upcoming MTD changes, and with, I guess, everything technology moving forward. So it's now's a good time to look at these sort of things before the changes happen. Yeah, hopefully there'll be more of these demonstrations where I'll go into things a bit more detailed, perhaps looking at particular aspects of Xero. But as I say, hopefully today's been very useful to you all. Any queries, comments, please feel free to drop us an email. Hopefully you have an email that can be accessed. My email is daniel.kidd@honeybarrett.co.uk. Sorry, that wasn't put on any of the slides. But if you have a main contact at Honey Barrett already, please do feel free to email them. And if there's anything that I can help with, I'll be more than happy to. But thank you again for today. Thanks for listening. And I'll speak to you all again soon, hopefully.